Hi, everybody. This is Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show where we watch old 16mm films. And normally we do this live, but today we are cleaning out the basement and the upstairs at the archive, and are going to probably be exhausted. So that's what I'm doing now. Is imagine me not sitting here on a couch, but schlepping junk, old stuff, scrap metal out of the space so that there can be some renovation taking place at the archive. Anyhow, today I got some films pulled for you. Some of these are from the Prelinger archive, and some of them are from our collection, but they all deal with teenagers. So it's very exciting, and I don't think I've shown any of these in the past. So the first one we're going to watch is a Frith film, and Frith films were kind of these prosumer, I don't know, professional, but also like amateurish educational films made by Emily Benton Frith. And she basically used home movie 16mm equipment to make these films, and then hired somebody to narrate. And this one is called Teenage Farmhand. Then we're going to watch a driving film, because basically when teenagers were given cars, they were causing all sorts of problems. And this one is None for the Road, Teenage Drinking. Then another one, Teenage Rodeo, which is kids, again, reconciling the fact that they're horrible drivers. And I should say that the one for the road has the Etna Drivo trainer in it, which was this kind of like little, like had a steering wheel and a brake and a gas pedal, and you would watch a film, and then it would rate you. It would like print out this tape about your reaction times and things like that, and it would be used in driver's ed. They were pretty expensive. Some schools had them, some schools didn't. I seem to remember there being like an abandoned one at my high school. Like, I was like, what is that thing? And they're like, oh, we used to train people in driver's ed back in the 60s with this, but they never had gotten rid of it. And then finally, a family film. There's a series of these teenage family films, which are Christian films made for teenagers. This one's called Teenage Challenge, and this one is, I can't remember it, but it's basically teenagers reconciling the fact that they're Christians and trying to figure out ways to handle whatever. I showed another one called Teenage Conflict, which is these kids who are decided that they're all into science and that they don't believe in God, but then this scientist basically sets them straight. This one, I can't remember how this plays out, but they're like mini, almost like sitcoms, little dramedies, lighthearted, Atomic Family type stuff. So, anyways, thanks for watching today. We'll be back live tomorrow on Tuesday, and we'll watch some more films together. In the meantime, if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. You can donate via the super thanks button, or you can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. But just saying, the thumbs up, or watching. I mean, we have been putting a bunch of films online from our collection and from the Prelinger collection, things that aren't online on our channel. So watch some of that, because we get pennies of ad revenue from that sometimes. So anyways, it was great to see everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
taking care of his horse, Pancho. Yes, he helps his father around the farm too, and lots of things are just plain work. But feeding Pancho, well, that's different. He's such a pal, always whinnying when a fellow gets home from school. Ken has taught him to shake hands too. Hi there, old boy. But enough of that, Pancho. There's work to be done. Ken asks his father what he must do today. Mr. Maple is really proud of the way Ken does his work. His sister Jean helps too. Well, first thing, you'd better take care of the chickens. The Maples run a general farm with poultry and pigs as sidelines. They have about 700 chickens and ducks. These are white Pekin ducks. The chickens are New Hampshires. The ducks and the chickens eat the same food, and they get along very well together. They eat a mash made out of such things as wheat, oats, barley, alfalfa, and corn. The bars keep the chickens from getting into the troughs. Well cared for chickens are strong and healthy. They will lay better, live longer, and require less care. They like to scratch for worms and bugs. In hot weather, they dig up the cool dirt to lie in. Good, healthy chickens require little care beyond cleaning and feeding. Yes, these ducks really take to water. It's natural for ducks to be in water, so of course they're better off if it is provided. Even when they swim, they stay dry under their feather raincoats. On this farm, chicken yards and houses are kept scrupulously clean. It takes lots of work, as Ken will tell you. In the chicken house, each chicken has a separate cage. These chickens were brought up this way, and it seems to agree with them. They lay more eggs on the average than those in the chicken yards. Chicken fertilizer is excellent for the soil. They will spread it over ground that needs enriching. A farmer works continually to keep his soil in good condition. At harvest time, Ken works all day driving the tractor for the hay baler. The baler takes a crew of 6 men working as a team. The big machine goes straight down the line of alfalfa hay called a windrow. Ken knows how to run the machine and then stop on signal while another bale is set. The man on top shoves the right amount of hay for one block into the presser. Several blocks are pressed together to make a bale. When the bale drops down, it must be tied by the wire binder. As you can see, tying the wires requires skill, as the wire binder must work fast to keep up with the rest of the crew. They drive up and down the rows until the whole field is baled. Hey, something has gone haywire. You better stop the machine. Well, Ken wants to know what's up. Yes, always something happening on a farm. Well, the bale wasn't tied tightly, and so it broke. They untangle the wire and put the hay back into the machine to be remade into another bale. The hay left by the machine is called the scatters. Thrifty Ken ties up the wire. Now the job of collecting the bales. Ken is on the receiving end. This is heavy work, as each bale weighs about 100 pounds. Mr. Maple's stock will have plenty of food this winter. You see, that is what hay is stored for, to feed the horses and cows when the cold winter weather makes grazing in the fields scanty or impossible. Generally, they cut the alfalfa early in the morning, before it is dry, so that the leaves will not drop off. Mr. Maple has other fields ready to be cut, and some have been cut and are ready for the rake. Mr. Maple asks Ken to harness the work team, Lightning and Dynamite, to the hay rake. Yes, indeed, they are powerful horses. They like the surprises Ken has for them. Now, Dynamite, don't be grabby. Here, Lightning, a carrot for you, too. Ken feeds the horses 3 times a day, and he often beds them down at night. Pancho watches Ken help harness and wishes he would saddle him for a swift cross-country run, but Ken seems to be busy. He skillfully checks the bridle and collar. The harness must be comfortable for the hard work on the hay rake. The pulling chains are securely fastened to the single trees. They're off, and a magnificent team they are. Up and down the field they go, raking the cut alfalfa into rows, and then gathering the rows into piles. This field of hay will be stored loose in the barn. In the meantime, Ken is back with his father feeding the pigs. Mr. Maple has a special treat for them, some tomatoes not quite good enough for the market. The pigs are mostly grain-fed. Mr. Maple studies their diet carefully, so they will grow big and fat. Ken's father gave Ken a pig for his very own. He plans to enter her in the 4-H club contest at the county fair. Ken hopes to be one of the future hog breeders of America. Some of Mr. Maple's pigs are pure breed, and some are crossbreed. Late afternoon now, time to collect the eggs. Ken has collected the eggs since he was a small boy, but he finds it always lots of fun. The hens aren't so sure they like it. When chickens are molting, that is, shedding their feathers, they don't lay for at least a month. Ken's mother wants these eggs right away. She will use a few to bake a cake. The rest, she and Jean will pack in boxes ready for the market. And now it's time to milk. 4 cows on the place make it possible to sell a little milk to neighbors. Mr. Maple has 2 helpers, but today he does the milking himself. Ken wants to be a good farmer, but he just can't milk like his father. Yes, he tries hard, but he's pretty slow. Mrs. Maple works hard, gardening, canning, and helping everywhere. She likes living on the farm. Lots of work, but lots of fun, too. Say, Ken is really excited. Rosemary has a calf just 5 minutes old, and it's a mighty little one. Cows are good mothers, and Rosemary took good care of her baby. Mr. Maple gives the calf her first lesson in walking. Hey, mister, my legs aren't made for that. Steady there, youngster. Yeah, she seems pretty dumb, but after all, we didn't know much when we were 5 minutes old. Well, it's getting late. The horses are tired and want their dinner and a comfortable stall. The cool water tastes good after the long, hot day in the fields. Ken will bed them down and make them comfortable for the night. And now Ken helps Jean, who has been picking beans all afternoon. Jean will help her mother can them for the winter months. She has already won prizes for her fruit at the county fair. Well, a brother isn't so bad after all. That is, at the right times. Ken, Mother wants us at the barn. What do you suppose? Sounded like a surprise. Well, come on, let's go. Let's see what's up. Well, Brownie has 5 brand new baby kittens. Yes, Brownie trusts her family, but after all, a cat only has 9 lives and ought to be careful. Yes, this is an exciting day, but no more so than most days on a farm. Something is always happening. Ken and Jean wouldn't change their life for anything. Would you?
My name is Dr. Charles Wentworth. I conduct research in the field of physiology. The story you are about to see involves some facts about physiology, but it is more than a clinical report. It is a story that revolves around 2 seemingly unrelated articles: a good luck charm and an ordinary hypodermic syringe. In conducting some of my experiments. It is filled with a colorless, inflammable fluid with a characteristic odor and a pungent taste. Chemical formula, C2H5. You know it as alcohol. My research is devoted to alcohol and its effects on the human body. But not all experimenting is done in laboratories such as this. A certain amount of experimentation goes on under less scientific conditions. Jerry Landon is one such experimenter. Jerry Landon, home from college for a vacation of fun and relaxation.
After a while, well, we make bets. See, the guy that can thread the needle first after the most beers wins.
And so who did?
Well,
You think he'd tell us if he didn't?
well, you asked me what effect beer has, and I told you. On me, none.
Jerry Landon is one of the types who experiments with drinking, the all-out type. Keith Stevens, on the other hand, is much more conservative.
Hey, Keith, how would you and Mary like to go out to the lake tomorrow? What time? Early? Take a steak. Make a day of it. Think it over. Like to?
Oh, Keith, I can't. I promise.
Promised your mother you'd do something or another.
How'd you know?
Because you like to plan everything in advance. Nothing spur of the moment.
Am I that bad?
I didn't say it was bad, just different from me, I guess. I like to let things take their course.
What do you have?
Beer?
The Coke's all right.
Coke and a beer. Now there, I'll bet you planned that answer. If I was going to have beer, you were going to have a Coke, right?
Well, maybe, but not just to be different. I plan not to drink because I plan not to drink. Hi. Hi.
Made up your mind about tomorrow yet? Yeah, I'll go. Stag. His girl's got to be different. Same for you? I'll have a ginger ale.
Me too. See, I'm not so different.
Holy smokes, Dan, here I go building her up that she's being somebody different. Then you have to go order ginger ale. What gives? Here's what gives. The one and only car in the Parker family is in my keeping. And there's a rule of the house. No drinking and driving. Not even beer. Not even water. Ginger ale.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jerry. Let me see.
My car keys?
No, the charm.
Now, wait a minute. That's my lucky piece. It got me through history last term, and I'm counting on it to graduate me.
Couldn't I trade you out of it?
It looks to me like you have enough charm.
It's not the bracelet he's referring to.
Well, I don't have any like this one.
What do you say, Bev? Protect me.
You better let her have it. She's got that collector's gleam in her eye.
Well, there goes my luck. If I flunk out next year...
It won't be because little Edie didn't plan it. She's a great little schemer. Huh? How about another round?
Not now. I think we better dance.
That's two. Come on, huh?
Big dance.
I guess that leaves you, Jerry. Hold down the fort.
The evening slipped pleasantly away for the 3 young men and their dates. For Keith Stevens, who did some drinking, for Jerry Landon, who held down the fort, and for Dan Parker, who stuck to ginger ale. Here in the laboratory, we've devised some scientific methods to determine what effects Keith and Jerry might reasonably expect from their haphazard experiments with alcohol. We use test animals with definite amounts of alcohol. This animal has no alcohol in its system. You might compare it to a ginger ale drinker. This is an animal which has previously been injected with only enough alcohol to bring the level in its blood up to what it would be in a human being after drinking 4 beers. The third animal has received enough alcohol to bring its blood alcohol level up to a percentage comparable to that of heavy indulgence. Say, someone who had been holding down the fort all evening. Watch the first one, the one without alcohol. His reflexes are fast and automatic. He immediately copes with the unusual situation. In number 2, with a moderate amount of alcohol, his coordination seems to take more effort. He meets the unexpected situation less skillfully. There's a perceptible decrease in his ability to balance. His reflexes are impaired. Now let's look at the third, the one well under the influence of alcohol. He meets the situation in a completely befuddled state. Note the complete inability to balance. This one is just not fit to cope with the situation. Yet he can walk away. Test animals aren't alone in showing these reactions. Let's take a walk over to a classroom where human reactions are being tested. Now let's see what would happen when driving under the influence of alcohol. To find out, we use the Etna Driver Trainer. A unique teaching device with real car controls, the Driver Trainer employs a series of special instructional films to present actual on-the-road driving conditions shown on a screen. The drivers of these individual classroom cars have a driver's eye view of this motion picture highway. Let's imagine you're driving and haven't taken alcohol. Watch out for that delivery man. Your rapid perception of the situation and quick brake reaction prevented what could have been a fatal accident. Now let's suppose you had done some drinking and are driving down the same road. You're driving a little too fast and have a false sense of confidence. Watch it. A few more feet might have meant tragedy. This time, let's imagine you're fully under the influence. Reflexes are slow, judgment poor, and you're too late and too slow to avoid hitting the delivery man. Your confidence was high, but your reactions and judgment were low. Yes, like animal number 3 here. When you're under the influence of alcohol, you keep on trying. You keep on thinking you can. Your coordination is low, but your confidence may be high. Certainly, Jerry Landon's confidence was high.
There, I told you I could do it, and you ain't seen nothing yet.
Jerry in front of an audience may be able to perform satisfactorily, but when he's alone and driving, he lets down and loses his concern, and therefore the safety factor.
Could I interrupt you and Dan for just a minute?
Yeah.
Well, Jerry and I had a little fight, and I need a ride home.
Oh, sure, Edie. Let's see, we have to take Bill and Rita, and that's pretty far out. You'll be another half an hour late.
And I promised Mother I'd be home early.
Why don't you just patch things up with Jerry?
I can't. He's gone already. Besides, I didn't want to ride with Jerry. He had too much to drink.
Jerry's gone by himself? Gosh, he was kind of under the weather.
Well, I didn't want him to go alone. I tried to get him to let me drive.
You know, that worries me. Bev, do you think I ought to go after him, see if he makes it home all right?
Well, somebody ought to. I wish somebody would. But we've got to take Bill and Rita and Edie here. Well, if you go looking for Jerry, you'll never get home tonight.
Something wrong here? Jerry's gone on home, and in his condition, we think somebody ought to catch up with him to make sure he gets there. And Edie's stranded.
Well, we can go after him, and we can take Edie with us.
I think I might stay here and go with Dan.
But I don't know if Bill and Rita are ready to go yet.
Well, I'll go get the coats.
I wish you two were ready to go. Keith's been drinking too.
Well, I don't think he's been drinking that much. I mean, enough to hurt anything.
What do you think? I think it's all right. I'm not afraid to go with him. Well,
Look, I can take you home now and come back for Bill and Rita.
that'd be an awful lot of trouble. Maybe I better just call Mother and tell her I'll be late.
Oh, come on and go with us. Besides, you'll make Keith mad by insinuating he's drunk.
I guess so. Well, all right.
Fine.
Here are your coats.
Thank you. Now, you drive carefully tonight, will you?
Okay.
Okay.
You've made up your mind. Well, Keith, take it easy.
Okay.
Sure hope you find Jerry all right.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye, Edie.
Somewhere a drunken driver was behind the wheel. But by the time Dan and Bev had taken the other couple home, they felt much less apprehensive. They supposed Keith had caught up with Jerry in time. And then...
Oh, what is it?
Looks like an accident.
You don't suppose it was Jerry?
Keith should have been able to catch him by now. You wait here. I'll go see if I can help.
Dan, it was Jerry.
No, not Jerry. Someone in the crowd up there had seen the state patrol stop a car that was weaving. But that was before the accident. I asked about it. The description fits Jerry's car. I guess he's safe. The police took him on in.
Oh, thank heavens. For a minute there, I thought it was Jerry. What's that you got there?
My good luck piece. The one I gave Edie. She didn't want to ride with Keith.
With Keith?
I found it up there at the side of the road. Why didn't she stick to her guns? Why didn't she insist on riding with us? Why'd I let her go off with someone who'd been drinking?
But Keith wasn't drunk.
No, Keith wasn't drunk.
No, Keith wasn't drunk, the way Jerry was. Had he been, the police might have picked him up too. But Keith had just enough alcohol to slow his reactions in a critical moment. A moment that was to send him and Mary and Edie to the hospital.
I know one thing. You can't trust to luck. If the driver's been drinking, you've got to stick to your guns and turn down the ride. Always.
Nobody can afford to drive with alcohol present in the body. Today's heavy traffic and high-speed cars make the odds heavy against the non-drinking driver. Out of consideration for the safety of others and yourself, should you drive if you have been drinking recently? Should you ride with a driver who has? These decisions ought not to be difficult for you to make.
Say, that looks pretty interesting, doesn't it, Bob?
National Teenage Rodeo. Go to college. Spencer to JC's. Win a lot of loot. Looks pretty interesting, all right. I'm an old car hand from the Rio Grande.
Carboy, Bob, my hero.
Hey, what gives, chums? You got a license to be this happy?
Let me guess. She's lovely. She's engaged. She uses steel wool.
Bob's going to enter a rodeo.
I didn't know you knew any horses.
Who's talking about horses? This is a different kind of rodeo. These horses have wheels. Dig?
Speaking of wheels, here comes Cowboy Joe in his convertible. I can tell by the squeal.
I'll bet he's trailing you, Nora.
Well, so they're giving prizes for driving now. Hi, everybody. Why have a contest? After all, here I am.
Oh, you are? Are you all there?
You know I'm the best driver in town.
No, isn't that funny? I didn't know that I knew that. I'm sure the JCs don't mean your kind of driving.
What's eating you, Nora? Come on, how's about a ride in the rod? I'll show you how to drive.
No, thanks. I'm healthy, and I want to stay that way, all in one piece.
Peace is right. Quit fighting. How about a Coke, Sandy?
Oh, no thanks, Bob. I just remembered a date with a friend.
See you later, Sandy. My dearest friend, my worst enemy.
He's hard, all right, but how does that affect you?
Every time Dad sees Sandy drive, it takes a week of begging to get him to let me use the car. He thinks we're all rods.
You'll need the car for the rodeo, won't you?
No, the JCs and the local car dealer supplied them. New ones, too. But I do need Dad's permission.
And now I want to present to you Mr. James Barlow. Mr. Barlow is a member of the local Junior Chamber of Commerce. Many of you know him as a local businessman. Others of you will remember him as the all-star state quarterback. It's a real pleasure for me to present to you Mr. Barlow.
The JCs are sponsoring a teenage rodeo here in Centerville to promote safe driving among high school students. We have a wonderful bunch of prizes, radios, clocks, and other things. As a result of this competition, the rodeo will name the town's most skillful teenage driver. The winner gets a plaque and the opportunity to go on to further competition. In all of the states, approximately 1,700 local winners compete with each other in state championship rodeos. Then the winners in the 48 states, Hawaii, and Alaska travel at JC expense to Washington, D.C. for the National Rodeo, where the grand prizes are college scholarships totaling $4,500. There they compete in written exams on safe driving, just as they did in their local and state contests. These exams test the teenagers' knowledge of traffic laws and safe driving practices. They also compete in a rodeo of driving skills, and believe me, it's a terrific event. The teenage driving trials are modeled on the one set up by the American Trucking Association for professional truck drivers. Teenage rodeo contestants don't have to wrestle with big trailers the way the pros do. but they do have to demonstrate expert driving skills. This is the test on the Serpentine course, and it's just 1 out of 4. We JCs believe that some of America's best drivers are in their teens, and these rodeos give you a chance to prove it.
A rodeo with automobiles? And you want my permission to go out and kill yourself in what amounts to a game of chicken?
Dad, the JCs are behind this. Also, Liberty Mutual Insurance, the Chrysler Corporation, the trucking industry, and the Pure Oil Company, too. Besides, this is a safe driving competition.
Well, okay if I sign with my pencil?
Sure, Pop.
Well, how's the kitty car class, Mr. Barlow?
Well, we haven't mashed any fenders yet.
Oh, well, that was the other guy's fault.
All together now.
Sure it was.
Oh, yeah? Well, I could win this contest with one hand tied behind my back.
Sandy, you got the makings of the best driver in town. Your vision, reflexes, coordination, they're terrific from here down. Why don't you let us help you develop your driving skills from the eyebrows up?
You see, Nora, I'm not so dumb after all. Mr. Barlow said so.
Nobody said you were dumb, Sandy. It's just that you haven't been using the brains you were born with.
Okay. If I start using them, will you drive with me?
I guess so. I give up. All right.
Don't fast here, Sandy.
Who's driving this heap?
You'll never change.
Well, hello, Sandy.
Hi, Mr. Barlow. You know this eyebrows up stuff? Well, I thought you were kidding. Mr. Barlow, I almost ran over a woman and child tonight.
Come in, Sandy.
Bob, you did great. Or did you?
I don't know, but we'll soon find out. Gosh, Dad, I was lucky to win the city championship. They'll murder me in the state rodeo. Man, was I lucky. Gosh, Dad, they'll murder me in the national rodeo, but the trip will be fun.
Oh, I don't know, Bob. The odds against winning the state championship were thousands to 1. In the national, there'll only be 49 to 1.
Maybe so, but that Washington rodeo is big league. It's really tough. Listen, Dad. There are penalty points if you hit a ball, or touch a line, barrel, or stanchion, or fail to stop the car right on the line. And of course, there are instructions you have to observe. You have to signal the judge with your horn when you finish any test where measurements have to be made. I'm not too worried about the written exams. I've got by them twice without any mistakes. But in the nationals, they have aptitude tests. The knowledge exam is tougher, and you have to drive a road test on the streets of Washington.
Believe me, traffic in Washington is no worse than it is here in Centerville.
You've got something there, Dad.
Bob, guess what? Mom and Dad are taking me to Washington to see the Nationals. How's that strike you?
Gee, that's terrific, Debbie.
Sandy is going too.
You are?
Oh, not as a contestant, Debbie, just as a spectator.
He's going to drive Mr. Barlow there.
No kidding. I guess Mr. Barlow must have changed his opinion of you, Sandy.
There's been another change, too. Sandy's starting to use what he's got above the eyebrows.
What you hiding for, Debbie? He's terrific.
It's close. I figure our boy has a slight edge.
The horn! Why doesn't he blow the horn?
That's only one mistake. He's still got a good chance.
Yeah, but he's still got to get out of there.
Forgetting the horn must have rattled him.
And up till then, you must have been one of the top scorers. Why, in the ball test, you put those skins right on the line.
Oh, well, somebody else was just better than I was, that's all. For that matter, I might have lost points in the interview, or the road test, or the aptitude test.
Oh, gee, Bob. Well, that's the way it goes.
Is this a private post-mortem, or can anybody get in on it?
Anybody can join, Mr. Barlow. Just bring your own handkerchief.
Well, I'm going to fool you. I'm going to say something cheerful and spoil everything. After all, Bob, you shouldn't think of yourself as a loser. If you look at it that way, there are thousands and thousands of losers and just one winner. You know, that just isn't true. Actually, you're all winners.
Come to think of it, I'm a winner, too. And I didn't even drive in the rodeo. This year, that is.
You'll be driving cars for the next 40 years. And the things you've learned about driving will stick with you for life. On a nationwide scale, a program like this can save countless lives, maybe your own.
when you write up all this in your column, don't forget how to spell Ziggelmeyer.
Don't worry, Ziggy. You'll be in it this time.
Well, that's fun. Leaving my name out lately. Nobody even know I was on the team.
That's for sure. The way you've been playing, it's one of the coach hasn't kicked you out.
Well, today, who drove in those 2 runs in the 4th?
You'll get credit for a base hit. Those 2 runs men on an error from the shortstop, Georgie Ben. How about that, huh?
That wraps it up for us.
Yeah. We finally won one.
Man, we're going to celebrate this one. Betty going to be there, ain't you?
Down Higgins Lake?
Where else?
Oh, we can't make it.
You flip, man? Everybody's going to be there.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but we got other plans.
You beat me, man.
Hi, Stan. Betty?
Hi, Dave.
Some game, huh?
Yeah, they don't come much better.
At long last, our pal Ziggy sure zagged his way around.
Yeah, and he reminded me of it every inning, too.
Hi.
Mrs. Goodwin.
Hi.
Exceptionally good copy, Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin.
And Dave, your column is just excellent. So are your social notes, Betty.
Thank you.
Hey, you can all take bows. Oh, Stan, I wanted to thank you for the coverage you gave to the announcement of our essay contest.
Well, we try to do our best.
I hope you're all going to enter.
Well, I am. I think you picked a very good theme. Teenager's greatest challenge.
Well, I know what my greatest challenge is. That's to get a date there with Betty.
Over my dead body.
Now, just a minute, you two. I'm not wearing anybody's brand yet.
That's a strategy, Betty. Keep them wondering.
I guess that's my greatest challenge.
Well, I'll see you on Monday. Have a nice weekend.
Bye, Mr. Goodwin.
Bye. Come on, Betty, let's get out of here.
Oh, Dave. Stan was asking why we don't go down to Higgins Lake on Sunday night.
Sure, come on and join the gang. It'll be a real blast.
Betty, we can't.
Why not? We could miss youth fellowship just once.
Sure, it won't tarnish your halos.
Yeah, but our new youth advisor's leading the meeting. We promised we'd be there.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
I'm sorry.
Well, someday I hope you'll wise up.
Well, let's put it this way. No one has a pat answer for every problem that comes up. I know when you're out with other kids, it's kind of hard sometimes to even admit you're Christian. And even more difficult to live up to what you believe.
You can say that again.
Well, it seems to me if we're Christians, we shouldn't be ashamed to show it.
It's not a question of being ashamed, but a person doesn't have to go around talking about it all the time.
I agree. I think we've got to be reasonable about it.
What do you mean by reasonable, Betty?
Well, I mean, if we go around talking about it too much, you know what most of the kids say. It just causes trouble. Sometimes we take a beating by just coming to church.
That's for sure.
That raises a good question. Is it possible to be a Christian and still be popular?
Naturally, some of the kids are going to think we're way out of orbit. But maybe it's just the other way around. Maybe it's the other kids that are square sometimes. I think it's a question of whom do we want to please first, the rest of the gang or God?
That's well put, Mike. And I'd like to point out something else. Something I've learned from personal experience with many teenagers. You can't be popular and compromise on your principles. People are quick to recognize a phony. But when a person sticks up for what he or she honestly believes, then he or she will ultimately earn the respect of the crowd. And out of that kind of respect can come some real popularity. Certainly a Christian doesn't have to be a social outcast. In fact, if we truly live with Christ in our hearts and seek God's will for our lives, we can't help but make wherever we are.
Well, I think each of us would like to do God's will. The only thing is, sometimes it's pretty difficult to know just what it is God wants us to do.
We can pray about it.
I would say it was vital to study his word and pray for guidance.
Yeah, but even when you do that, it's difficult. Well, frankly, I sure don't know what God's answer is.
We don't always discover God's will for us overnight. It takes patience, persistence, courage, and faith. But God does have a plan for each of us. And if we live each day as it comes, doing what we feel to be God's will for us, each moment toward his ultimate goal, have no doubt. We may get discouraged sometimes waiting for his answer. Going may get rough. God never promised everything easy. But he does have a plan for each of us, and he will show us the way. And another thing, teenagers have always been vital in God's plans. Look back through history at the way God has used teenagers to further his kingdom. And it's just as true today. What you do now in his name can help determine the future of the world. Believe me, there's no more thrilling adventure in life than seeking out God's will and in living every moment for Christ.
Quite a meeting.
Yeah.
What do you think of the new advisor?
Well, he certainly has a way of putting things.
Sure makes a guy think.
So did what you said tonight, too.
You mean I got through to you?
Well, one thing you said did. About whom do we want to please first? The gang or God? I never really looked at it like that before.
Well, I didn't think it up. I read it somewhere.
Yeah, but it figures. It really leaves it up to us, doesn't it?
It sure does. When you start thinking like that, and then how it is with all the kids at school and everything.
Dave, please don't misunderstand me. I think Mr. Rhodes said some wonderful things tonight.
Yes, but everything he said isn't worth a hoot unless we do something about it. We've been going to church and youth fellowship all this time thinking we were pretty good. But actually, I mean in our everyday lives, it gives us any reason to call ourselves Christians. All of a sudden, it's so clear. Either a person lives for Christ or he doesn't.
But I still say you don't have to act like a missionary or something.
I am not going to go around preaching at the guys. But I feel kind of chicken. No, I have gone along, taken all their guff, tried to laugh it off. What's to laugh off? This is serious business.
I agree. But you try and talk to them like that, and you'd be the laughing stock of the school.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Man, you missed a real blast last night.
Yeah, we finally had to throw Ziggy in the lake.
He ain't kidding when he says we either. It took 6 of them to do it.
Well, it couldn't have happened to a more deserving character.
You should have been there, Dave.
Oh, we had a good time, too.
You burn out a bearing singing hymns, you call that a good time?
No kidding. When you and Betty gonna get out of this church rut and live like the rest of the human beings?
Well, perhaps you should take a look on our side of the tracks, too. See how we live.
Well, from what I've seen, Laughing Boy, it seems to me like it's against the law to have any fun.
That's where you're way off base, Ziggy.
Well, what do you do for fun? Stick your feet in cement?
It depends upon what you consider fun. In life, it's like baseball. No one ever got out of the minors by bucking the rules. I mean, if a guy wants to make the most of living, shouldn't he try to find the best way of doing it?
Man, this character's all steamed up today.
Yeah, the devil better run for cover.
Hallelujah.
All right, you clowns. Listen, you've only got one life. Did you ever stop to figure what that means?
Yeah. It means I better go before I wake up with a long white beard. How's that?
You're kidding, Ziggy. We won't be around here long enough to raise a white beard.
All right. If things are getting all fouled up, what's the percentage in not trying to find out what God wants us to do about it?
Hey, we're raising us a real preacher here. We don't mean kidding you, Dave, but we're just setting our own ways, that's all.
Saved by the bell. Never so happy to hear it. Well, so long, Parson.
See you, Dave.
Hi. Hi, Betty.
I can't talk now, Dave. I'll be late for my class. Yes, I wrote that story. I did. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Wallaker. Oh, yes, of course. Next time I'll see to it that I get it right. An H and not a K. Oh, not at all. Goodbye.
Trouble?
Oh, I just spelled a name wrong.
Betty. Betty, what's the trouble?
I've just told you.
No, I mean between you and me. The way you walked off this morning like you were mad or something.
I wasn't mad. Just embarrassed. You made a perfect fool of yourself with Ziggy and Stan.
Why? I didn't do anything I'm ashamed of.
Oh, Dave, honestly.
Look, like I said last night, either I'm for Christ or I'm not. And if Ziggy and Stan or anybody else for that matter wants to make perfect fools of themselves, then
But you've got to go at it gradually.
if I were selling tickets to the homecoming game, I wouldn't sneak around half ashamed begging people to buy, would I? And why should I apologize? Because I think trying to live up to what I believe is important.
Dave, I just don't think that we should hit people over the head. And if you're going to make like a missionary, please don't expect me to go along with you.
Find what you wanted, son?
Oh, yes, thank you, Dad. I'm awfully glad you got the set of encyclopedias. Saves a lot of trips to the library.
I just finished reading your column. You seem to have a real knack with words.
Thank you. I like to write.
By the way, I've been reading in here about the essay contest. You're going to enter it, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Have you picked your subject yet?
Well, not exactly. There's so many things that come under the heading of a teenager's challenge.
Won't be easy to pick the greatest. After all, your generation is going to have a lot of challenges.
And if your generation doesn't solve some of these problems, Dave, I'm not sure that I'd like to be in your shoes.
You kids are really facing a colossal challenge.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
What are you writing?
Oh, it's for the contest. Here.
You're not going to enter this.
Why not? Can you think of any greater challenge facing a teenager?
Oh, Dave, it would be great for a church contest. But you try and enter this here, and your greatest challenge is going to be to try and live it down.
Betty, you're building this all out of proportion.
I am not.
What's the hassle, kids? A teenager's greatest challenge. Finding God's will for my life. Wow, you are biting off a mouthful, Dave.
Maybe.
It's very commendable, pal. But you better get ready for a few laughs.
But it is our greatest challenge. If we lived our lives according to God's will for us, wouldn't it solve most of the major problems?
It might, if you get everyone to do it. And if each one was able to figure out what God wanted them to do. But so far, mankind just hasn't done it.
But that's not God's fault. How many more chances do you think he's going to give the human race to wake up?
Come in.
You want to see me, Mrs. Goodwin?
Oh, yes, Dave. Come in. Sit down. Dave, as chairman of the essay committee, I have some good news for you. Your entry was one of the best.
Really? Yeah, that's swell.
The only thing is, your choice of subject has put the committee in a rather awkward position.
What do you mean?
Well, it's always been traditional in our public school system to keep the school and the church separate. Now, the committee has to take this into consideration. Therefore, because of your essay's content, the majority of the committee feels that we shouldn't invite possible repercussions by having it presented in General Assembly.
You mean they're throwing my essay out?
No, not exactly. Dave, I liked your essay very much. I think you've stated your ideas extremely well.
But if I can't deliver it in assembly, what's the good of it?
I know how you feel. The committee would like for you to write another essay on a less controversial subject, and they'll accept it instead of this one.
That's very funny. I thought I'd get a rise out of some of the kids, but I never dreamed I'd have it kicked back at me from the faculty.
Oh, I'm sorry, believe me. Dave, some of us on the committee felt that you'd chosen a very worthwhile subject and treated it very well. We wish everybody in school could hear it, but it would open the door to criticism. Some feel that, in effect, it would be making a church out of our school assembly. I hope you understand. Dave, please think over what I've said. I mean about writing on another topic. You're a fine, fine writer, and you owe it to yourself to stay in this contest.
I'll consider it. Goodbye, Mrs. Goodwin.
Goodbye, Dave.
What happened to you? You look like you just missed the last rocket back to Earth.
You were right. I shouldn't have tried it.
Try what? What do you mean?
The committee threw my essay out. It's too religious for around here.
Oh. Well, maybe it was all for the best. You know, a lot of people might have taken it wrong. But I am sorry. I know how much this contest meant to you.
Mrs. Goodwin says if I write another entry, they'll accept it.
Then why don't you try it?
Is there any other honest answer to the question of our greatest challenge?
But you can't expect to change everything overnight.
I wasn't trying to change anything. I was just trying to do what I thought was God's will for me, right now.
That's your essay? May I read it? All I ever saw of it was just the opening paragraph.
Sure, why not? Might give you a laugh.
Please, don't say that. I'm sorry. It's just that I felt that you were going a little overboard, and I didn't want to see you get hurt.
You're right. I guess I have been getting too touchy. I'm sorry, too.
Well, I guess I'd better be getting back to the office and type those notes. Oh, may I keep this overnight?
When you're finished with it, throw it in the wastebasket.
Dave, don't.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
It's just a matter of putting first things first. If God is in charge of the universe, then doesn't it logically follow that we are responsible to him? And therefore, isn't it up to us to seek his will for our lives? To find out why we are really here on this earth? To discover how God wants us to use our talents, our abilities, and our energies? With all of the challenges facing us, isn't this the first and the greatest? To find ourselves and our destinies in God's plan.
Hi, Dave.
Hi,
How are
Mike.
ya?
Come on in. How have you been?
How's your cold?
Oh, I feel a lot better. Sit down. Going back to school tomorrow.
I had to by here to make some deliveries after school, so I thought I'd come in and see how you're doing.
I've had an opportunity to catch up on some of these assignments the last couple of days.
Did you write a new essay?
I did, but I just couldn't seem to put anything into it.
As long as you don't let it get you.
I don't feel very good about it. I suppose it's like Mr. Rhodes said that night at Youth Fellowship. Trying to live like a Christian is not easy.
But there's no reason why we can't keep punching.
Well, maybe there's such a thing as trying too hard.
Well, that I can't buy, pal. I heard the pastor say once that when we team up with Christ, that there's nothing that can stop us from carrying out God's will for us. Sometimes we may feel like we fall flat on our faces, but maybe it's because we don't give things a chance to work themselves out, like God wants them.
Well, it'd help if I knew for sure.
Well, there's one thing we do know for sure. That old verse about trust in the Lord with all your heart, and don't depend on your own understanding, and he'll direct your path.
Hiya, preacher. Hear you've been laid up.
Yes, sort of.
I bet I know why, too. That essay you wrote, that'll make anybody feel lousy.
How would you know?
Well, I read your masterpiece. You're a real fire-breathing, heathen-hating preacher boy.
Where'd you see it?
Oh, it's making the rounds.
Who showed it to you?
Well, now, don't flip, man.
Look, I'm not sore. I'm just wondering how you happened to see it.
Well, it's no secret, laughing boy. Your stuff's making the rounds. I got it from Stan. He got it from your girlfriend.
From Betty?
Yeah. I guess you wanted to give everybody the laughs. Well, so long, Parson. Keep your halo on straight.
How are you feeling?
Okay.
I heard about you and Ziggy this morning. I want to explain what
Yeah,
happened.
Ziggy told me.
Will you please let me tell you?
What's to tell?
Well, I read your paper the other afternoon, and honest, I thought it was great. I even took it home and showed it to my parents, and they agreed that it was
Wait a
just...
minute, hold it. Just a second. There's something I don't understand. If you did all this, what about Ziggy?
That's what I'm trying to explain. You see, I brought it back to you the next morning to give it to you, but you didn't show up, and I had it there on my desk, and Stan came in, and he wanted to read it, so I let him.
And I thought it was the best piece of copy you've ever written.
I must be dreaming.
No, you're awake, pal. And thanks to you, I'm opening my eyes, too. Your ideas made quite a dent.
Dave, while Stan and I were talking about your essay, Ziggy came in.
And he wanted to read it, so we let him. But we didn't let him take it. He lifted it when we weren't looking. I've looked for it. Ziggy claims he don't know who has it now. It's making the rounds.
I'm terribly sorry, Dave.
It's a lousy thing for Ziggy to pull, and I told him so.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not so sure it is a lousy thing. I wrote these for people to read, and thanks to Ziggy, that's exactly what they're doing.
Hey, I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Poor Ziggy. He's actually being a mission poet.
I'd like to see Ziggy's face when you tell him that.
Me too.
Well, wait a minute. There's no rush. Let's not spoil the good work. Seriously, I appreciate what you've said about my essay, and, well, I feel pretty small the way I've almost gotten sore.
I've got to hand it to you, Dave, for sticking up for what you believe in. It's a lot more than I can say for some of us. I'd like to say I'm sorry.
Forget it.
Guess there's a lot I don't dig yet, but if you don't mind my asking questions.
There's a lot I don't understand, too. I'm not sure what God's will is for me yet, but I've got a lot to learn.
We all have. But thanks to you, Dave, we're making a start.
I wonder what would happen if we ran your essay next week as an editorial.
I dare you.
You know something? Maybe that's my greatest challenge.